Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Lori Smith on Blog Talk Radio. Good morning. It is 6 o'clock here in the morning, Wednesday morning, May the 12th. This is One Child Abuse Survivor to Another. We're on for 30 minutes. It's a live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. I'm just having some coffee and waking up, and just so glad to be able to do these shows. We're going to continue talking about child sexual abuse. It's a bunch of great information I found on littlewarriors.ca. And these Little Warriors is out of Edmonton, Alberta. They are an awesome not-for-profit organization out there making a lot of noise regarding child sexual abuse and how to prevent it, how to stop it, how parents can talk to their children, and age appropriateness to start talking to your children about good touch, bad touch, and whatnot. Lots of good information on there for parents and for kids. And so it's a great website, and you can check this out for yourself at www.littlewarriors.ca, and it's spelled just like it sounds, Little Warriors, LittleWarriors, littlewarriors.ca, and it's a great website. And we've been going over the issues of child sexual abuse and related topic information for about 2 weeks now, and I figure we'll just keep going. This is some good information regarding prevention. Learning the facts, minimizing opportunity, talk about it, stay alert, make a plan, act on suspicions, get involved from littlewarriors.ca. So that's what we're going to look at this morning. And I'm so happy to be able to do this show. I'm happy to be here, and I'm so thankful for all the support and friends that listen on a regular basis, and for everyone tuning in. I thank you very much for allowing me to do this. It wouldn't be really all that. It wouldn't be too worth it if no one was listening and no one was actually, concerned in getting involved in child rights and changing this thing and stopping abuse. So I'm so happy to share this with people and just to have you all here with me. It's great. And I'm not a professional. I don't hold any professional counseling certificates, therapist certificates. I'm just a person who pays to do my own blog talk show because I just wanted to be one more voice out there. I saw that there were some people on Blog Talk Radio doing some awesome stuff. And I thought, hey, I'll just be one more voice out there, and that's what I think everybody should do. I wish everybody would get a blog talk show and start talking, or just start talking in your own communities, start talking in your own world, stop child abuse and get this stopped, We want to save children's lives, and about the only way it's going to happen is if everyone gets involved. And we want to save children from a lifetime of abuse and trying to heal from that abuse, right? And that's the whole issue, right? We all need to get involved, and I wanted to be one more voice, and I think everybody else should be too. And you're more than welcome to come on the show if you'd like to. Just let me know. I used to take callers, but I had so many prank callers, people that would phone in, especially these young guys, and they just thought it was so funny to phone in with their disgusting jokes. And I was young once too, and might have not been beyond that. So I understand these young people just, they find it funny, but they were wasting my time. I'd get them on the air, and they'd start telling their story, and then pretty soon, before you know it, it'd be a prank call. And it was just such a drag because I thought, this is so serious. The issue of child abuse to me, is so incredibly serious that I don't take it very lightly, and I don't take jokes about it very lightly. And as much as I try to sort of allow for people to be able to make a mistake here and there, when it comes to child abuse, I can't find it funny. So I had a bit of problem with that. So almost every single caller was a prank caller. So if you ever want to be on the show and you have something you'd like to add, you have to let me know ahead of time that you are going to come on the show, and you have to give me your number so I know who you are on the other side there, because people will phone in and then their number's blocked, so I can't see it. So if that's the case, I'm not going to let anybody on, because that's how those prank callers do it. So that's the whole issue. I just got tired of those guys. So you're more than welcome to come on the show if you'd like to. Just let me know ahead of time, and we can let you on. And because I do encourage everybody who wants to be on the show to please join me. So we're going to get right on with it. Oh yeah, also, I always tell people this: listen at your own discretion. The topics of abuse are very sensitive, and so you have to know what's best for you to listen to. And so if you know that the topic of child sexual abuse or any abuse at all is going to bother you, then you need to turn the show off. because you won't be hurting my feelings. We all have to be responsible for what we listen to, and so if the topics of abuse make you uncomfortable or you think it's going to bother you, you just have to turn the show off and listen at your own discretion. And children under the age of 18, especially really young children, I would ask and just hope that you would get someone to listen to this show with you, because I don't know where the players are now. And so I fight for child rights. I'm standing up for child rights. I'm trying to save children's lives. And there's a lot of sick child sexual predators out there who are doing just about anything and everything they can to get a hold of children. And these people are smart. They know how to do it. And so you should have an adult listen to everything that you're listening to on the internet, and make sure that it's okay for you to be listening to it. And the topics that I cover, even though they're ultimately about stopping child abuse and making this world a better place for children, there's a lot of adult content and a lot of adult topic information, see. So I just think young people should have someone listen to this with them to help them make the decision whether or not they should be listening to it. And then there's the other person, the adult. So, if you have a parent who cares, which I pray and hope that you do, or a teacher, counselor, guidance counselor at school, a mentor, a coach, someone who you trust and who's been very trustworthy and knows that, knows how important it is to keep kids safe. They might listen to a show with you and then just see if it's something that you should be listening to. So I just think that's a great idea, to keep yourself safe, keep yourself alive, and keep yourself protected from being a victim of a child sexual predator, which there are millions of people out there, men and women, and older youths, who will do anything they can to get a hold of young children and sexually abuse them. So you have to be aware of that, and you have to know that this is happening and get the information on how to stay safe online. There's some really great information out there. You just have to start looking around. So we'll get right on with the show here. This is prevention from Little Warriors, www.littlewarriors.ca, prevention of child sexual abuse. And they have 7 steps here. Learn the facts, minimize opportunity, talk about it, stay alert, make a plan, act on suspicions, and get involved. And we're just going to start right at step 1 here. Learn the facts. Learn the facts and understand the risks. Realities, not trust, should influence your decisions regarding children. 1 in 3 girls will experience an unwanted sexual act. 1 in 6 boys will experience an unwanted sexual act. 95% of child sexual abuse victims know their perpetrator. Definition of unwanted sexual act is, according to the Little Warriors here and the research that they did, experienced an unwanted sexual act including being exposed to or being forced to expose, being threatened or touched, attempted assault, or assaulted. And that source was from the Child Sexual Abuse, the Canadian Badgley Royal Commission report on sexual offences against children and youths, released in 1988. And they said all statistics have been validated by the City of Edmonton Public Library Smart Search and Bannister Research and Consulting. So 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys will experience an unwanted sexual act. And these statistics are very much sort of the same across the board wherever you get them. 95%, some people say 90%, 90 to 95% of child sexual abuse victims know their perpetrator, and they usually they know who they are because they have access to these children. It's either a family member, family friend, someone who the child knows, the daycare people, teachers, people who have contact with your child during the day. That's who will sexually abuse them. The other 5 or 10% are child abductions by child sexual predators, and you can see the difference. There's not nearly as much of that going on as it is a family member or someone who has access to your child every day who is sexually abusing children. And so that's the really harsh part. It's usually somebody the child knows. So that's why it's so important to know where your child is at all times, who they're with, and whether or not, you can't even really trust them. You just have to do some background searching, and you have to do some looking in at the situation and make sure that, because lots and lots of reports come out, in the paper and where they have these nanny cams and stuff like that. And there is stuff out there that you can actually install in your home or wherever your child is. You can have it placed in there. There's a little tiny cameras, and you can place them around, and you wouldn't believe the amount of stuff happening that gets busted because of these cameras. These people get busted. It's great. You know what I mean? I love it. I wish we could bust them all, but put them away for a very long time. But the thing is not everybody can leave work to go check on their child, periodically. And the thing is, they said if you do it all the time, then they know and they start to see the routine and the habit. It's almost like you just have to have a sixth sense and just say, okay, I'm going to go check today and see just what my child's doing with this person today. And then you could pretend you left something in the you left something with the child that you needed to pick up to go back to work. You have to make it look like you're not really spying on them. And you could actually, they have, lots of people have actually busted people that way by just going back to the place where their child is and pretending that they left something behind, and then they find that their child's being sexually abused and they didn't even realize it was going on. So that's the thing, it's so important, right? Minimize opportunity, that's step number 2. If you eliminate or reduce one adult, one child situations, you'll dramatically lower the risk of sexual abuse for children. And it says here, reduce the risk, protect children. Understand that abusers often become friendly with potential victims and their families, enjoying family activities, earning trust, and gaining time alone with children. Think carefully about the safety of any one adult, one child situations. Choose group situations when possible, and think carefully about the safety of situations in which older youth have access to younger children. Make sure that multiple adults are present who can supervise. Set an example by personally avoiding one adult, one child situations with children other than your own, and monitor children's internet use. Offenders use the internet to lure children into physical contact. And they said reduce the risk, insist on policy. Talk with program administrators about the supervision of older youth who have a responsibility for the care of children. Insist on screenings that include criminal background checks, personal interviews, and professional recommendations for all adults who serve children. Avoid programs that do not use all of these methods. And insist that youth-serving organizations train their staff and volunteers to prevent, recognize, and react responsibly to child sexual abuse. And ensure that youth-serving organizations have policies for dealing with suspicious situations and reports of abuse. It says one-on-one time with a trusted adult is healthy and valuable for a child. It builds self-esteem and deepens relationships. There are things you can do to protect children when you want them to have time alone with another adult. It says drop in unexpectedly when the child is alone with any adult, even trusted family members. And that's just the thing, right? Because lots and lots of family members sexually abuse children. And that's just a fact. And it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. And a lot of people don't report it because they don't want Uncle Joe or Brother Bob or, Grandpa Phil to go to jail and do time for the sexual abuse. And so even if they know about it, they don't report it. And that's just wrong because these people, that's a criminal act. Child abuse, child sexual abuse is against the law. It needs to stop. The only way it's really going to stop is if people start reporting this stuff and getting these people, justification done, right? That they need to serve and do time for the crime. So, we cannot afford. Really, we owe these children that. We really do. Their lives are really scarred for a long, long time until they can, work through the abuse. And when they become adults, they usually tend to have all kinds of survivor issues and problems, getting along and everything in life. They have to usually end up seeing a counselor or therapist, if not group support, to get through this. And then the abuser walks free. Uncle Joe gets to continue coming to the barbecues, and Aunt Mary. And, it's really wrong for families to back up the abusers. And to me, that's just as bad as actually committing the act of abuse, right? Whatever it was. To know and enable abuse, to me, is just as bad as the person who's actually committing the crime and abusing the children, right? So, too bad if they won't be at the barbecue. You know what I mean? That's the whole issue. Or Christmas parties. They need to, justice has to be served, and these children deserve it. And they deserve to know that, that because it's obvious they're going to have a hard time healing from this, but they really deserve to know that the family and everybody around them is supporting them and not the abuser. Because what's really hard is when you're abused and everyone supports the family or the abuser. Because then you go through life thinking that's just great. Everybody came around to support the person who abused me, and then I'm the one that needed the support. You know what I mean? And that's very much my case. I was sexually molested as a child by a family member. My mom knew about it and did nothing about it. and actually told me it was my responsibility to figure out how to stop it. Well, I was 8 years old. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's going to work. You know what I mean? 8-year-old children do not know how to do stuff. Like, I started sleeping with a knife, you know what I mean? Just thinking, well, you know, if worse comes to worse, that's just not right. And so the thing is, you know, but my parents were very abusive, and my mother was my main abuser, so, you know, I didn't push it with her, and I figured, well, if that's her answer, that's her answer, you know, and it's unfortunate when people actually support the abusers. My parents had lots and lots of support from a lot of people. Even though they could see that the children were spiraling downhill and they knew that my brothers were being treated badly, they still supported my parents. And they all they had to do was take one look at me, and they would have known that I was being abused, because I just there's the signs were there. You know what I'm saying? And so many people supported my parents and did not support the siblings at all. So I'm telling you, to support an abuser is extremely wrong. It's really against the law. It's called enabling. You can be brought up on charges if you are someone who knows a child's being abused in a home and you do nothing, absolutely nothing to stop it or to report it or, you know, to let the police know about it. Then you are an enabler and you are part of the crime, because you're allowing it to go on. And as the adult in the situation, you will be tried right along with the abuser if it is ever found out that you did enable it. And I really hope that all enablers would be tried and right along with the abusers, you know what I mean? Because it's so wrong to know about abuse and not do anything about it. It is just, it's absolutely horrible that this happens. And children, you know, they don't deserve to be abused. And so I really seriously hope that people will start looking around at the children in their lives and the children in their world and make sure that these kids are not being abused, right? And there's signs and symptoms. You know, we all can know and learn the signs and symptoms of all the different kinds of child abuse. And if we even suspect it, you know, have a suspicion and suspect it, you could save a child's life by reporting it. And people say, oh, well, I don't want to break up their home, you know, what if I tell, and what if I report it and then it turns out to be wrong and then I break up this happy home? Well, let me tell you, those child protection services don't generally remove the children unless they absolutely have to. Point being is that my family, we had an intervention done when I was a toddler, and we were not removed from the home, and we should have been. Because the abuse continued and continued and continued, and it destroyed our family. And we should have been removed from the home until my parents could prove that they could look after us. They would have had to go through some psychiatric counseling, some therapy. Both of them needed help. They had mental issues, all kinds of emotional problems, anger management problems, and they were very ignorant people, brought up in an ignorant time. In the 1930s, they were abused themselves, and so they continued on to abuse a whole lot of children, which is all of my siblings and myself. So I really wish that we would have been removed from the home, because we spent a lifetime in hell. And so I would hope that they do remove the child from the home if it's a dangerous situation and they feel that the safety of the child is the child will not be safe, then they will remove the child. But those, you know, they do make mistakes, you know what I mean? Sometimes they don't remove children when they should. Sometimes they remove children when they shouldn't. It's not a perfect system. But we have to keep trying. Just to say, oh, it's not working, we'll just stop the whole thing is just stupid. You know what I mean? Because more children will die at the hands of their parents and caregivers. But, you know, we have to report it. And so it's against the law not to. So I just hope everybody keeps that in mind. And also, you should just want to, because you want to protect those children or that child, you know. Should be in everybody's heart to think that children deserve protection. Children have rights, whether people want to believe it or not. Children have rights. They actually have a few more rights than adults do, because they have the right to have a loving, caring environment to grow up in, first of all. And that has to be done by the parents or the caregivers. They have the right to life. They have the right to shelter and protection. They have the right to education and government. They have the right to health care. They have the right to everything that will give them a good life, you know what I mean? And so abuse doesn't fall under that category, right? And treating them badly and abusing them in any way, whether it's sexual, physical, verbal, emotional, psychological, spiritual, you name it, that does not fall under the category of rights. You know what I mean? It's against the law to abuse people, and if we don't stand up for these rights, they will disappear. Lots of people have died over the years, actually millions and millions and millions, maybe billions, have died trying to secure human rights for people, and they're still dying today. Take a look around Amnesty International and different groups like that, and Child Rights, CRIN, Child Rights Information Network, and different places like that, and you will see that people are losing their lives even today fighting for human rights, child rights, because there's a lot of people out there who don't want this. There's a lot of people out there who want to be able to abuse children. There's a lot of people who want to get a hold of your child and abuse them sexually. They would love that. And so you have to protect your children, and anytime you can stand up for child rights, you need to do it, because we will lose these rights. There's groups going to the government right now petitioning so that they can have sex with children. There's groups with hundreds of thousands of signatures going to the government to pass laws and bills that will allow them to have sex with children whenever they want. Now, if there's not something wrong with that, that means our society's heading down the tubes quick, because that's wrong. It's against the law, but what the public wants, the public gets. So if we don't start standing up and making some noise here and saying, no, we're not going that way, we're going the opposite way, we're going to toughen the laws, and we're going to throw the book at all and any child abuser, whether it's a child sexual predator, whether it's just a mom and dad who beat the crap out of their child and injured them, to the point where they have physical injuries that they're going to have a hard time recovering from, because the emotional damage is obviously going to last a lifetime, right? They need to put these people away, and for a very, very long time. You know what I mean? We have to start working on ways to solve this stuff. And really, I think what's a good idea is to look around in our own communities at what's working. Take a look at what's working and support it, because at least it's moving in a positive direction, right? So you don't want to support something that's not working. So I think we have to do our homework, and we have to find out what's working in our communities, what kind of programs are initiated, usually through the schools, to help prevent child sexual abuse and child abuse in general. And then support those groups, because if it's working, it's obviously it's a good plan, and it is working. And at least it's supporting something in a positive direction, instead of just doing nothing at all, right? So we have to get involved, right? And step 3 is talk about it. Children often keep abuse a secret, but barriers can be broken down by talking openly about it. Understand why children are afraid to tell. They list some things here. The abuser shames the child, points out that the child let it happen, or tells the child that his or her parents will be angry. The abuser is often manipulative and may try to confuse the child about what is right and wrong. Now, that's a fact. Abusers are very manipulative. That's how they get away with what they do. That's how they elicit support from other people, and that's how they weasel their way into your family if it's a child sexual predator. They're very manipulative people, and so once they get a hold of your child, boy, I'm telling you, they will manipulate them and they will warp them, and you better be paying attention. The abuser sometimes threatens the child or a family member. Some children who do not initially disclose abuse are ashamed to tell when it happens again, and children are afraid of disappointing their parents and disrupting the family. That's a big one. Children are afraid, like, if they do tell, it'll break up the family, especially if it's a family member. They'll think, oh, if I tell that grandpa or grandma's been molesting me, or aunt so-and-so, or uncle so-and-so, then it'll break up the family, and everybody will be disappointed in me. The child takes on the role of the guilt. They take on the responsibility, which is wrong, because obviously no child can be found responsible for that. That's the adults or the older youth's responsibility to take responsibility for their actions. And unfortunately, the kids usually end up taking that on. The children do, because they internalize it, and it becomes something that they think that they've caused to happen. And especially if the abuser tells them that and say, well, your parents will know that it was you and it was your fault because you're the one, right? And they just wear these children down to the point where they don't want to tell anybody, right? Because they, for whatever reason, they just feel that they can't tell anybody. So that's just so bad. We need to know this stuff. Some children are too young to understand, and that's true. Young children think it's a game, right? They think it's just a game. The sexual abuse, child sexual abuse, many times they think it's a game, and they have to keep it secret because they're told that they need to keep it secret. It's a secret game, and so they don't think there's anything wrong with it. You know what I mean? And it's so wrong on every level. And so we have to know this. That's why it's such a good idea to pop in if your child's being looked after during the day when you're at work and stuff like that, to find an excuse or whatever to come back and check on your child periodically, or have someone else do it. Have someone else drop by that knows the family as well. And then it wouldn't look like it's just you all the time. You know what I mean? So important. Really, absolutely so important. It says many abusers tell children the abuse is okay or a game. Yeah, that's right. They'll say that it's okay that this happens between adults and children all the time. This is normal, and it's a game, no problem, right? The young child is not going to know any different. Know how children communicate. It says here, children who disclose sexual abuse often tell a trusted adult other than a parent. For this reason, training for people who work with children is especially important. Children may tell parts of what happened or pretend it happened to someone else to gauge adult reaction, right? And children will often shut down and refuse to tell more if you respond emotionally or negatively. That's right. They will stop talking, and if they think you're going to be upset, if they think that they're going to be in trouble because all of a sudden you got upset and you start yelling and screaming and stuff like that, then they'll clam up, right? So, or if you start crying and acting like I don't know, if showing those huge emotions right in front of them, they might shut down because they don't want to hurt you. Children are so innocent, they really don't have any other way to be, but innocent, unless their innocence is taken from them. And then, of course, they're not innocent. But the thing is they still have that innocence about them, you know what I mean? And so there's lots of reasons why a child won't tell, and that's why it's so important to talk openly with your child. It says here, talk openly with your child. Good communication may decrease a child's vulnerability to sexual abuse and increase the likelihood that the child will tell you if abuse has occurred. Teach your children about their bodies, about what abuse is, and when age appropriate about sex. Teach them words that help them discuss sex comfortably with you. Model caring for your own body and teach children how to care for theirs. Teach children that it is against the rules for adults to act in a sexual way with them, and use examples teaching them what parts of their bodies others should not touch. And be aware to mention that the abuser might be an adult friend, family member, or older youth. And teach children not to give out their email addresses, home addresses, or phone numbers while using the Internet. Start early and talk often. Use everyday opportunities to talk about sexual abuse. Be proactive. If a child seems uncomfortable or resistant to being with a particular adult, ask why. That's the thing. If your child's uncomfortable all of a sudden to go where they used to go and have fun, like a daycare, after-school program, someone's home that they usually stay at while you're at work, and then all of a sudden they're uncomfortable about it, you better know that something happened there. Because children just don't make up their mind one day, I'm not going to like that place. If they're having fun and they're happy, then of course they're going to like it. But if all of a sudden something happens and there's some abuse going on, and especially child sexual abuse, and they're very uncomfortable squirming around, and just really don't want to go back to that place, you better start wondering what's going on. That is a huge sign. One survey showed that fewer than 30% of parents ever discuss sexual abuse with their children. And even then, most failed to mention that the abuser might be an adult friend or family member. So that's just it, And talk to other adults about child sexual abuse. They go on here. It says support and mutual learning occur when you share with another adult and you raise the consciousness of your community and influence their choices about child safety. You may be offering support and information to an adult whose child is experiencing abuse and may not know what to do, and you put potential abusers on notice if you are paying attention. Ha ha ha. That is awesome. That's right. The more we talk about abuse, the more the abusers are going to, start to wonder if they aren't kind of being watched. And I believe that we could save a lot of children's lives if everybody started talking about this and really started making it a part of their life. We could change this for the better for children. I really believe it, because the only ones left that wouldn't be a part of it would be the abusers, and they would eventually we could find out who these people are and help these children, right? But it would take every single one of us to do it, and it's unfortunate because so many families just don't care what happens to each other, Like in my family, I grew up in a very abusive home, and you can read my story. I wrote my story. It was a blog, but now it's published, and it's at lulu.com, and it's called A Life of Death, The Redemption, and you can find it at lulu.com, and all the proceeds of that book are going to Dreamcatchers for Abused Children to stop child abuse. I don't want the money for that book, and I want it to go and help prevent and stop child abuse. So I hope that you will pick up a copy and check it out, just to see one family's experience, my own experience of what happens to people when they don't get help, and how destructive and actually horrible it is for children to grow up in a home where there's a lot of violence and domestic violence and abuse and of all kinds, right? It's just so horrible. And so you want to check out our website. I'm the Canada Regional Director for Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, and you can check out our website. That is at http://dreamcatchersforabusedchildren.com. And then we also have Dreamcatchers Talk Radio here on Blog Talk Radio Monday through Friday. That's so awesome. 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for 1 hour. Different hosts, different regional directors throughout the United States, and myself hosting those shows. And the president of Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, Donna Shear, she hosts some of the shows. Elizabeth Brawley, the Southern Regional Director for Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, and then Tammy Tanko. She kind of does the whole western half of the United States, pretty much, as far as the regional director goes. She's taken on most of it, and Tammy Tanko. So she'll be on tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I really hope that you can tune in, and that's www.blogtalkradio.com/Dreamcatchers. And that's going to be great. I really hope that you will check it out. And I really want to mention this website. This is a website for survivors of sexual abuse, and it's called thistangledweb.co.uk, and you can find it at www.thistangledweb.co.uk, and there's some great links on there. There's Just Jess's awareness blog, the survivors blog. There's links on there. There's survivors art, and there's lots and lots of information on there. Poetry, the abuser and the abused. It's just a great website for anyone who's experienced child sexual abuse or any sexual assault of any kind. It's a very healing place to go, and I really believe that people would be able to find a lot of support there and get some great information there. And so I just wanted to pass that on to you all. And I have more. I have so many websites regarding that people have put in place to help survivors of child abuse and child sexual abuse. So if you need any information, get a hold of me, and we'll be back. I'll be back on tonight with child abuse prevention, and human rights abuse prevention is up to us at 9:30 Mountain Standard Time. And so I just hope you all take care of yourselves. Until next time, you guys have a great day. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.